In this video, we're going to talk exclusively about currency conversions. So if you're traveling to a different country and you need to do conversions, this is the kind of math that they do. So first thing you're going to notice is that there are two different columns, and we're going to talk about why that is. So this first one talks about in US dollars. Okay, so that means that in US dollars means this is the amount of US dollars over 1 euro. So in this first one, we have this is the dollar amount over one foreign whatever, whether it's a euro or a yen or a rupee. Okay, so for have 1 euro, if you want 1 euro, you're going to have to pay like $1.12 to get that 1 euro. That's the conversion. Whereas in the right spot, the right column, you see per US dollar. So this is like 0.890958 euro to 1 US dollar. So in this one, we have foreign over $1. So you can see, depending on what you start with, the one on the right has US in the bottom, the one on the left has foreign on the bottom. So it depends what you're working with. So in this first question where it says, either conversion factor can be used, what is more convenient for converting foreign money to US dollars? So if I start with foreign money, well, if that's the case, I want to put foreign on the bottom and dollars on the top. So I would use this first column because that first column puts that this is how many dollars goes on top and 1 Australian dollar, 1 Mexican peso, 1 India rupee goes on the bottom. Okay, so and you're going to see, we're going to do some examples so you can kind of see how this works. And hopefully that'll help make a little bit more sense. So let's pretend here in question number 2, you get an internship in Madrid, Spain. You take $500 spending money with you. How many euros can you exchange this for? Okay, so you're starting with 500 American dollars. Now, hopefully, with this whole conversion piece, I want to put dollars on the bottom so that they go away. So this is per US dollars. That's this column. Okay, now we want euros. So I look at the euros, that's this top one, so it'd be 0.89, of course I wrote over top of it, 0.890958 euro. So doing that, this dollars cancels out, they're both in the numerator, I multiply across, and when I multiply across, I end up with 445.479 euro. Okay? So hopefully that kind of makes sense of how we know what column. If we start with dollars, we use this column. Now, in number 3, we're leaving Madrid. So we were in Madrid, we changed them to euros, and now we're leaving. So now we're starting with euros, 350 euros. That's an E, not well drawn there. We want to change this to dollars. So now we're going to have 1 euro on the bottom, and we want to be in US dollars. So we want to use this column. And we're doing euros, so this is my dealio. So on the top, I'm going to have 1.122388. Now, this conversion makes my euros go away. I multiply across the top, and I end up with $392.84. Now, you might be saying, Becky, why did you round this to the nearest penny, but when you did euros the one before, you took it out to 3 decimal places? Well, here's the thing. I don't know anything about euros. Okay, I've never used them. So I just made that one all the decimals. You might round to the nearest euro or the nearest rupee or the nearest whatever, but when we talk about dollars, I did the nearest penny because that's how we roll here with the US dollars. In number 4, you return from Cancun, that's Mexico, with 2,000 pesos. How much are they worth in US dollars? Well, I'm starting with 2,000 pesos. I want some pesos. And I want to turn them into dollars and US dollars, right? Not Australian dollars. So that means I want 1 peso on the bottom. I want to put that in US dollars, so that's this column. So I'm looking at, this is my number, 0.054058. That makes my pesos go away. I multiply across, and I end up with $108.12 rounded to the nearest penny. Let's go to McDonald's in China. If you buy a Big Mac there, it costs 16.68 yuan. That's in January of 2014. How much is this in US dollars? Well, I'm starting with 16.68 yuan. Okay, and I want to be in US dollars, and this is 1 Chinese yuan. So again, in US dollars, Chinese yuan, I'm using 0.152551. This makes my yuans go away. I multiply across, and I have approximately 2.54. So a Big Mac in China costs about 2.54. I have never in my life eaten a Big Mac because they scare me by the way they look. I'm a quarter pounder girl, so I'm not really sure, or a double cheeseburger, let's be serious, just make sure there's no pickle or onion. So I'm not really sure how much a Big Mac costs in the U.S., so I don't know if that's comparable or not. But for any of you who eat Big Macs, let me know. All right, number 6. Number 6. You can get a reasonable meal in Japan for $10. How many yen is that? I don't know. But we can find out, right? We have $10. We want to know how many yen that is. So now we're doing the per US dollar. Japanese yen, this is the number I'm looking at. So 109.206496. So this makes my American dollars go away, and my label is yen. When I multiply 10 times that big number, I get 1,092. And I'm just going to round that to the nearest yen because that's what I want to do. So I don't know about you, but spending 1,092 yen seems like a lot of money, and really it's $10, which could still be a lot of money depending on the time of the month, right? Because paychecks, coming in. Okay, number 7. You're on a train from India to China, and you want to know how many yuan, Chinese yuan, you'll be able to get from 10,000 rupees. Can you figure that out with this table? And hopefully you say, well, yes, I can go from rupees to US dollars and then go to Chinese yuans, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So if I have 10,000 rupees, well, 1 rupee, that's in US dollars, would be $0.014828. So that right there makes my rupees go away. Then I could say something. I could say that 1 US dollar, so now we're in per US dollar, and we want to go to Chinese yuan, that's this, 6.555203 Chinese yuan. So that right there makes my dollars go away, and I'm left in yuan. So when I multiply those across to the nearest yuan, I'd have 972 Chinese yuan. So you go from 10,000 rupees, where you feel like you're loaded, to 972 yuan, where you're like, yeah, it's not nearly as many as 10,000, but, it's all equal. Last problem in here, which is more expensive? We've got a jacket that costs 50 US dollars or a jacket that costs 50 Australian dollars. Okay, so we're comparing. We've got 50 US dollars, 50 Australian dollars. Which one is more? Well, you can't compare two different. So we need to figure out, well, we've got to change one of these. One of these needs to be changed into the other unit. It doesn't matter which one. So I decided to change the 50 Australian dollars into American dollars. So 1 Australian dollar, changing it here, here's the Australian dollar, would be the same as 0.721897 American dollars. So that makes the Australian dollars cancel out. I'm changing this, right, changing it to American. When I multiply 50 times that number, I end up with $36.09 in terms of American dollars. So now we can compare these two values. Which is more expensive? 50 US dollars is more expensive because 50 is greater than 36.09. So you've got to be in the same basic units to be able to compare. And after we change Australian dollars to US dollars, we find out that the US one is more expensive. And if you had done it the other way, change the 50 American dollars to Australian, you would have found it that way as well.